conversation is going round. People talking about the colors come to town. Fresh as a summer breeze, she'll take you by surprise.
Good morning and welcome to another episode of Fresh Waves on Whistle FM. This morning we have a great show lined up. I say that every week, but every week it's always a great show. We've got a terrific guest this morning, Chris Geniak of Guardians of Our Angels Missing Persons Canada. Before we start the show, though, we have to give a big shout out to Reese's Market and Bakery for supplying us with the muffins in the studio and for all the wonderful things that they do to support us here at the station. Thank you to Whistle. Thank you. You want to can that, Jay? Okay. Make a note. Thanks to Reese's Market and Bakery at 5958 Main Street, right here in Stouffville. Joining us on the line is Chris Geniak of Guardians of Our Angels Missing Persons Canada. Good morning, Chris.
Hi, Brenda. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. Nice to have you on board.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity.
Well, I tell you, until 2 weeks ago when we interviewed Kim Everson about her son, Ben, and Ben's been missing since July.
July 12th, yeah.
We had no idea that you even existed, that there was such an organization. I guess it's one of those things where unless you need it, you wouldn't know that it's there.
Exactly.
And it's kind of a shame because you guys do amazing work. Can you tell us a little bit about the organization?
What we do is we try to provide a service that is not being provided in Canada right now. Families throughout Canada don't have anywhere to go when their family members go missing. I mean, they can go to the police. The police put up a missing persons report and they put up a bulletin, or a BOLO they call it, be on the lookout across Canada. But there's nowhere to really go for support or help because throughout Canada, if you're missing your loved one in Canada, where do you turn? There is no government body, there's no government agency, there's no missing persons helpline, there's nothing. So what we try to do is we provide family support, emotional support through our organization. We provide ground search. I mean, if we have to search in the city, as we're doing in Hamilton right now for Holly Ellsworth Clark, we provide emotional support. We provide posting through social media and throughout the internet, leads and tip generation and tip monitoring, and we just be there for the family. And even after we locate a person in Canada, we continue to be there. We provide an aftercare program that includes services offered throughout cities that they're located in. If they need any help with mental health issues or doctors or anything like that, we're there. We stay. We don't leave.
Wow. So how did you start? How did you get into this? How did you start on this journey?
My wife and I, in 2017, we got involved in a protest that was happening in Windsor, Ontario, regarding a known pedophile that was targeting a young girl, which happened to be about 8 blocks from our house. So we got involved in the protest. We didn't coordinate it or nothing, but we got involved, and we sat out in front of this gentleman's house for 4 days until he was finally arrested, and there was a conviction at the end of it, thank God. And after that, we opened up our human trafficking and pedophilia and sextortion Facebook page, which started generating a lot of interest because those things are really not talked about as much in 2017 as they are today. In 2019, we noticed a gap in the missing persons cases throughout Canada. So we decided to dive in, my wife and myself, and help out.
And so what do you actually provide when someone goes missing and they phone you? They've already talked to the police, or you tell them to talk to the police. And then what do you do?
Well, first thing is we make sure that they've reported it to the police. We don't work with any families or anybody that does not actually put in a official missing persons report. And the reasons for that is in 2020, you never know why somebody's looking for anybody anymore. You just don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
So we don't want to be the organization that's out there looking for an ex-boyfriend's girlfriend and he's on a vendetta. So once we go through that, we open up a room. We use a lot. We communicate with our families through Facebook Messenger. We open up a room and we start investigating the case. And we start from day one, what happened, when, where, how they went missing, what they were wearing, same things that the police would ask. We have a 22-page intake questionnaire. It's the exact same questions that are asked by the RCMP throughout Canada. And we go off of those, and we try the best we can to locate the missing and forgotten in Canada.
So what if somebody comes to you and says, yes, they were last seen in Etobicoke, but somebody told me that they saw them in Victoria. What do you do about that?
So what we do is, through Facebook and through our internet, we'll post up on our Facebook post last seen location. Then we'll boost the post through our webpage and through our Instagram and Twitter and Facebook into the Victoria area, asking for volunteers or anybody on the ground that has seen this person. And usually when we ask for volunteers on the ground, we'll get private messages and private citizens that will go out and help us look. Now, the private citizens we use have to go through our screening process first. They have to get a police vulnerable sector check, and that's to ensure that we know who's on the ground and they have the right intentions for looking for the missing and forgotten in Canada. And we build our search teams like that. It's all private citizens. It's people that just want to help. They know there's a mother waiting by the door today for it to open, and they want to make sure that this missing person gets home.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And it's all volunteers.
All volunteers. I'll be honest with you, most of our search team is made up of parents that we found their loved ones. Our search team in Hamilton is made up of a couple that we found her husband. He was missing for 61 days. Our search team in London is made up of people that we found their loved ones. Same thing. I couldn't even explain to you what we've done in the last 10 months. It's incredible.
Well, tell us a little bit about what's going on in Hamilton right now.
So in Hamilton right now, January 10th of this year, 27-year-old Holly Ellsworth Clark went missing. I'm sure you've seen it, you've heard about it. It's national news. She's a Canadian pro wrestler, Pro-Am gold medalist. The case is very hard. The family flew in from Calgary. We have family flying in from Newfoundland. We have family on the ground from Toronto. We have a headquarters set up that was set up by some family friends that came in from Calgary. Our search team in Hamilton's been on the ground every single day. My wife and I have been up from Windsor every weekend, and we continue to look. Every tip, every lead, every maybe, every I think I seen her, we're there.
So what do they think happened to her? Is there a speculation of what happened? She just disappeared? I don't know the story behind it.
There's not really speculation. I mean, people go missing in Canada for all different reasons, and I'd hate to speculate as to what happened in this case. All I can say is that her parents, Dave and Greta, and our team and their team continue to look, and hopefully we can locate Holly as soon as possible.
So she was working in Hamilton, or what is the Hamilton?
She moved from Calgary to Montreal to Hamilton. She's a musician, and she was trying to start up a music career. She was trying to get an album going, and I'm unsure as to, or I don't want to speculate in public as to the facts of the case, but she went missing on the 10th, and we continue to look to this minute that we have a team on the ground following leads.
Wow. So tell us one of your happy ending stories that would demonstrate how one of your happy endings took place.
One of our happy endings. I guess there'd be two of them. First one is in Windsor, 15-year-old Caitlin Sullier, who ended up being my wife's cousin. We didn't even know.
Wow.
So she went missing in Windsor, and her family contacted us, and after a short conversation, we ended up finding out that they were cousins on the other side of the Sullier tree, and we went out searching in Windsor here with our Windsor search team, and we located her, and that was a really somber moment. My little cousin from the other side of my family went missing in Regina. We also were instrumental in helping locate Ashton, so you never know.
Yeah, you never know. Now, what is the average age of the people that go missing?
It varies, but the more of the cases that we're seeing to date is in the 15 to 32-year-old range. But it's the thing is with the missing and forgotten, there's no age group, there's no sex, there's no religion, there's no race. It's just an epidemic. The statistics from 2018 from the RCMP is 115 young persons under 18 and 171 adults a day go missing in Canada.
A day?
It's a small city a year. Yes, a day.
Wow.
Right on the RCMP's website.
That's incredible.
In the United States, it's just under 2,000 young persons a day.
Unbelievable. So what do they think is the main reason for all these people going missing? Is there a main reason, or?
I don't think there's a root cause. What I do think is that there's a lot of it has to do with mental health and a lack of a mental health framework. And I know every province is working hard on mental health in Canada, but every province is doing something different. There's no set standard. And sometimes people feel like they've got nowhere to turn. They've got nowhere to go. And mental health plays a huge aspect in a lot of the cases that we work on throughout Canada.
All right, so it's
on Bell Let's Talk Day. Yeah.
It's not really like a human trafficking issue then?
Well, there are human trafficking issues. I mean, that's another part of our organization. We run a human trafficking division, and you can't be trafficked if you didn't go missing, right?
That's true. And you are missing if you're being trafficked because people,
exactly.
You just disappear.
Exactly. That's another key. That's another key factor in Canada. There's human trafficking issues. I don't know if you're aware that human trafficking for organs is bigger than human trafficking for sex in North America.
Human trafficking for what?
For organs.
Oh.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So that is a bigger factor than human trafficking for the sale of sex in Canada.
And is this just a Canadian?
In North America.
Sorry, is that just a Canadian statistic, or is that true in the U.S. as well?
That's a North American statistic from the United Nations. The United Nations in 2018 did a big global report on human trafficking on the globe. And it's one of the alarming statistics that came out of that report.
Wow. That's really scary, because then it doesn't matter race, creed, color, whether you have mental illness, whether you are on the streets. It's just a person because they want your parts. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, if I'm sure after this episode you're going to start Googling some things that you probably never knew were happening in Canada or North America. And most people walk by every day. In one day, you'll probably walk by 2 or 3 people that are actually missing in Canada. You didn't even know it.
Well, that's true. How would you know? I mean, people take the subway and you don't... I mean, it's almost like an unwritten law now that you try not to make eye contact with someone. You don't try to antagonize anybody, and making eye contact is an act of aggression. I see people with their eyes downcast to the sidewalk, and they almost walk into street lamps, or they're on their phones and they're not paying attention.
It's pretty sad, eh? It
is. It really is. Yeah. But in the same sense, if it's self-preservation, then...
Yep.
But I guess in the sense of self-preservation, it would be pertinent to train people to be a little street smart now, to pay attention to where they are, to pay attention to the people around them, to not be on their own in vulnerable situations. Yeah.
You look at, I don't know if you've ever heard of Kelly Talon. She runs Project Maple Leaf. It used to be the Project En Route up and down the 401 en route service stations.
Uh-huh.
So she runs Project Maple Leaf. That's strictly to do with the human trafficking in Ontario, because the human trap from Windsor to Toronto is a human trafficking hub of Canada. So you look at organizations like that were started up to help victims of human trafficking. And everybody always talks about the pimps and what's really happening, but the problem is there's buyers. I hate to say it, but in Canada, there's buyers. If there was no need for this, there'd be no human trafficking for sex. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So as they keep pushing legislation on a reactive approach, and all the legislation in Canada is reactive. They're reacting to an ongoing epidemic, but there is no proactive approach to actually solving this problem.
Wow.
Everything's reactive. Even the Missing Persons Act of Ontario is reactive. They're reacting to a situation. And when you file a missing persons report, you're reacting to a situation, but there's no proactive approach. Did you know that Canada is the only G7 country in the world that doesn't have a missing persons framework?
No, I didn't know that. I thought they did have a missing persons framework.
No, they don't. So you have a lady named Maureen Trask that is working right now. This lady's phenomenal. She's working right now on a Canada-wide missing persons framework. So she submitted a 22-page report. Maureen Trask was also instrumental in writing the Missing Persons in Ontario Act. So you have independent citizens that are seeing holes in the system. They're trying to correct them. And Maureen's son, Daniel, sadly was located deceased 3 years ago in Waterloo. And independent citizens, independent mom and dads that either have gone through a situation, like with ourselves, my wife and myself, our 16-year-old, well now 16-year-old son, we lost him off and on for 406 days. We finally got him home last year, and it's another one of the reasons why we do what we do. There's holes in the system. The system's not there.
Wow. So nowadays, when you go to the police to report a missing persons, I know that in the past you had to wait for a week if they were over 19 or something, but now
there's no time limit.
Now it's no time limit.
No time limit. And see, that's another situation. If you go to a place like Kamloops, British Columbia, the RCMP there, they will off the record tell families, let's wait 24 to 48 hours. If you go to St. Anthony's, Newfoundland, they'll report right away. You go to some jurisdictions in Ontario, they say wait, but they report right away. So everybody's doing something different. There's no set standard.
Yeah. And there are some people who disappear and they want to disappear. They don't want to be found.
Some people need a break. Some people need to recharge, reevaluate, and they just need a break from life. There are some cases like that, and we are working on some cases like that right now. It's very hard to find someone that does not want to be found. Yeah,
I can imagine that's... But then for every one of those, I'm sure there's others who disappeared not of their own making.
Exactly. And then then once you take a situation where someone's missing because they don't want to be found. The next time you talk about a missing person, 9 out of 10 times they're missing because of them not of their own choice. But people start stigmatizing, well, maybe they're just missing because they don't want to be found. And people don't look. And people automatically jump to that conclusion without any fact-based knowledge. They don't understand the case. You see a lot of the young persons, the teenagers that are missing in Ontario right now. I mean, Ontario is horrific for missing young persons. And a lot of people automatically jump to the conclusion that they're just 15 to 16-year-olds and they just need time away from their parents. And once you jump to that conclusion, 9 out of 10 times, it's wrong, and it could lead to devastating consequences.
And I would assume that sometimes if a teenager is having a bit of a spat with their parents, then they may be the kind of teen that has gone to a place that they shouldn't be in, or a place where vulnerable teens are even more vulnerable, and they're annoyed and angry, and then they are the ones that could potentially be taken advantage of.
Yeah, they become victims, and they don't know how to get out, and they're trapped.
That's horrible. That's really horrible. It's a parent's worst nightmare, I think. And the not knowing is probably the worst part of the whole scenario.
We have a lot of families that we're working with now that people don't understand. I don't think that it's well-known fact that when we're talking about a missing person, they don't understand what it does to the entire family and the extended family. It's not just the parents that are affected. It's the grandchildren and the children and the aunts and uncles and the cousins. And it's the uncertainty. And it creates a huge mental health issue in these families throughout Canada. And where do they go for help? There's nowhere to turn. There's no missing persons helpline to call and say, listen, my son's been missing. I need some guidance. I need some help. I need somebody to talk to. We don't have that here. You go to England, the United Kingdom, they have the best missing persons framework strategy in the world.
We do so many things based on...
If your son goes missing, if your son goes missing in the United Kingdom, you can take time off of work to go search for them. You can't do that in Canada.
No, I guess you'd have to have an understanding boss or an understanding work atmosphere. But we do so many things that
parents go 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years looking for their loved one. They drop their lives. They can't recover.
Of course they would, because they love the person and they need to find them.
Yeah, you look at the Michaela Bali case out of Yorkton, Saskatchewan. I don't know if you know about that case.
No.
She went missing broad daylight April 12, 2016. And we work with her mother, Paula, still to this day. Paula's parents sold everything, so Paula could travel Canada, United States. It doesn't matter. If Paula gets a call today that there's a possible sighting of her daughter in California, she's on a plane gone. 3.5 years. It's almost 4 years now.
And do they have any idea what happened to her?
No idea.
She just vanished.
Broad daylight. 1:42 in the afternoon.
So she was walking down the street, going about her daily business, and then just vanished.
Gone.
Wow.
Yeah. There's so many cases like that in Canada. We work with James Candy. He went missing in August in 2017 out of Vegreville, Alberta. We work with his parents, Colin and Karen. You got the Ryan Schuker case out of Sun Peaks, British Columbia. We work with his mother, Heather. We're working on a case in Ontario here we have a partner. It's called Please Bring Me Home. It's a national search and rescue organization in Canada, and they specialize in cold or stagnant cases. And I can't even explain to you how many cases, how many parents are waiting, how many people are reaching out to us on a daily basis. And we're all volunteers. I mean, we don't take any income from doing this. We do this on our spare time and miss a lot of time from work to do this, and whatever it takes,
Now, what about people on the other end of the scale, the older seniors who may have Alzheimer's who just also vanish? Is there a network of some kind for them?
Well, we do help out when anybody reaches out to us. It doesn't matter the age. If they're missing and they're registered as missing in Canada, we help out. But dementia is a huge issue, and if you look in British Columbia right now, they're trying to actually institute a dementia alert, something like our Amber Alert here in Ontario for missing seniors with dementia. It's turning in. I don't know if you ever heard of a program called Project Lifesaver.
No.
So Project Lifesaver runs in Ontario, and what it is that family members have literally put something on their missing loved one so we can track them if they go missing. It's a great program. It's used by police services all throughout Ontario. It's fired up last year, and they have a huge, I think they're actually a 100% success rate, to be honest with you. I'd have to look at the numbers, but the success rate's phenomenal. But little itty-bitty things like that. And that was, again, created by a private citizen that's seen a void.
Yeah, and I guess that's what it takes.
Insoles. You can buy insoles right now to put in your child's shoes that are GPS monitored 24/7.
That's really cool.
Yep.
I think
there's a lot of little things you can do.
So, do you also have missing children?
Excuse me, what did you say? Sorry.
Do you also have missing children? Those that are under 18?
Oh yes, we have 6 cases we're working on right now.
That are
including a cold case, under 18, including a cold case, Cheryl Hansen, that went missing in 1974 at Oak Ridge, Ontario.
Wow.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Well, we have to take a little break here, and when we come back, Kim Everson will be joining us in the studio, and we'll have a little chat with Kim about what's going on with Ben and how you guys have been able to help her and support her on her journey to find Ben. You're listening to Fresh Waves. I'm your host, Brenda Masson. We're speaking with Chris Geniak from Guardians of Our Angels Missing Persons Canada, and we'll be right back, so stay tuned.